Okay, so then we start to move into the conduct phase of the interview. Okay, so we've done all our preparation, we've got our interview guide, everyone's booked in, we know who needs to be where and what and doing what. So now we're at the point where we can actually start to conduct the interviews. Now, when we're conducting the interviews, okay, you need obviously the job interviewer. Okay, it's not a tick sheet, it's an interview. And what that means is that we need to make sure that the interviewer, the person leading this, has gathered the correct information. And that takes skill and practice, okay? They know what questions to ask, they know how to ask them, and how to make sure the conversation flows properly, okay? That's just something that takes practice and time to do, and that's something you can develop, okay? But what's really going to help that, regardless of your skill level, is by having that really clear structure. I can't emphasize that enough. That structure will save you, because at least then you can follow the bouncing ball, move your way through it until you get really good at being able to wheel and deal in that space. Okay, once you've concluded the interview and you get to the end, you must make your summaries and recommendations. Now, I really strongly suggest putting down your comments straight away, because if you leave it to the end of the day, you will have interviewed a whole bunch of people and you'll be having a hard time remembering the first person. Who was that person in the middle again? That sort of good stuff, okay? Make sure at the end of it, before you see the next applicant, you've got that time to stop, reflect, write down what was going on, make all your recommendations, anything you had to chase up, put the notes down straight away. Don't wait, okay? Waiting is bad, do it now. It'll save you in the long run, trust me. Okay, and therefore what you need to do is make sure that the questions that you're then asking really allow for you to make comparisons as you go along, okay? And make sure you're asking the same ones to the same people, and once again, you're staying consistent, okay? Consistent, transparent, I can't raise it enough. Okay, so we've remained consistent. Make sure that the interviewer stays on point there and gets those done. All right, so then we start to move down through that a little bit further. The way that needs to happen is we're going to execute that by making sure that when we conduct that execution or that interview, hopefully do it at the place they're going to work, okay? So if you're hiring someone to come work in your office, interview in your office, preferably. If they're going to be working at a work site, interview them at the work site so they can have a bit of a look at it, okay? It allows them to get a bit of a feel for what they're in for, and also allows you to see what they look like in that position, okay? And it allows for a lot more different testing, etc. So execution, as I say, possibly in the place if possible. Once again, regardless of whether it's an employee or a contractor, whoever, get them to come in and have a look at it. Make sure you state the reason of the interview, okay, and how it's going to be conducted. Make sure they're aware of that before the interview. So, please come to the interview. It's at 9 o'clock at this location. It'll be a face-to-face interview with 3 people. Will take approximately half an hour, okay? That way they know exactly what's going on. What that will do is lower their anxiety level. It won't be a mystery about what's happening, and when they see 3 people sitting in a room, they're not concerned about it. No one likes the sort of, surprise, and there's half a dozen people there. I've had it happen in the past, and it changes the dynamic a little bit. You think you're going in to talk to one person, and there's 6 people. I mean, that's okay, but giving people warning helps out a little bit there. You want to set them at ease because you want to get the best possible answers out of them. So create that level of comfort, let them know what they're in for, and make sure that, when you're taking notes, say to them, hey, look, through this interview, just to make sure I remember all the key points, look, I just want to take down my notes, and from time to time, I'll just jot down some key details because I want to make sure that I remember everything, okay? So otherwise, if they just see you haven't said anything, you just start picking up a pen and writing, a lot of the time they're worrying about what you're writing about. So then the next question comes and they're still concerned that you are writing, and things get sidetracked, and once again they get nervous, things start falling over. Okay, so let them know that you're taking notes, let them know that you're just jotting down your thoughts, okay? And if they've got a problem, they can let you know. But generally, once they know what to expect, they're usually all right. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you're moving in there is to continue to create that comfort. So gain rapport, okay? So start to think about creating the comfort, explain the context. Hey, we're here for an interview. Set the tone, make them feel at ease, okay? And once you've done that, they're going to start getting on board. So a good discussion point before you even begin the interview, a little bit of an introduction of yourself, a little bit of conversation about this is the company and what they're doing, a little bit of a conversation to try and gauge any concerns they might have straight away. Also to feel their style, what their expectations of the interview are, and any concerns they might have at this point. So all we're trying to do is set the tone and then let them know, yep, so we're going to be here for about a half an hour or however long it's going to be. You reconfirm the timeline so they know how comfortable to get, and also, how quick their answers have to be. And, once again, it sort of sets they're under pressure or not. And also, it makes it clear. If they thought they were coming for a 3-hour interview and they're there for 30 minutes because that's all you had in mind, they walk out after 30 minutes going, I don't think I got it. Okay, if the interview goes too long, they stress. If the interview goes too short, they stress. If it doesn't go for the time frame that they thought it was, it just creates a problem. So look, just let them know. All right, while you're executing that, make sure you're listening to their answers and request any clarification as you go. If you're there and you're listening to them and you're not sure you got the answer, re-ask it to say, okay, that's interesting. Could you expand on this point? Okay, you don't have to re-ask the exact same question, just get your expansion point. Okay, once again, avoid any criticism or taking sides. Okay, they're there to tell you a story. You're there to listen to the story. You don't judge it or say this is good or bad in the interview because once again, it's going to change the tone. All right, so you just go, yep, great, take your notes, etc. Okay, you're not there to sort of create an argument with them. Okay, keep control of the interview. Make sure it stays focused. Okay, if they go rambling on a tangent that's not related to the interview, gently steer them back to it. Because sometimes they've misunderstood your question and they'll go off on some sort of understanding. If you can clearly see they've taken the wrong angle, go, yep, okay, great. Let me put that to you another way. What about this? Okay, so once again, to get them back on track to answer what you need. Okay, you need to also stay really focused and follow your interview guide and your interview questions. Don't chop and change and do funky stuff. Follow it through, okay? So that way we've got consistency and evenness. And also make sure you're allowing them time to ask their questions, okay? It's really hard if you've been bombing them with questions and you don't give them an opportunity to clarify as they go. We want to make sure, once again, this is a discussion because we want to find out if this is the right person for us, okay? As you're moving through all the different things you're going to ask them, do it in order of importance, okay, and sensitivity. So, you want to avoid an inquisition. It can't just be, tell us this, tell us this, tell us this, tell us this. Get your key stuff out of the way, ask it nicely, but then think about the tone and the way it takes. Make sure you're asking general questions. So, tell us about your career, etc. Ask that broad stuff. Once they've told you about that job, then you can be specific on the job. Okay, so go general first, general information, who they are, where they've been, what they're doing, and then start to focus down on the things you want. So general, then specific questions. Start talking about the external, so where have they been, what have they done, and then focus on the internal. Okay, so what do you want? Okay, so where are you, that big picture, then what do you want? And then also think about, well, okay, so what did you do in the past? So historic versus current. We're looking at, what was happening then, what was going on, through to, so what are you doing now and how does that fit? Okay, so in other words, give us a bit of your background and then it's, right, now let's talk about what you're doing now and where you're going in the future. All right, just those considerations, general, specific, past, future, etc. All right, lastly, make sure that at the end of the interview you thank the candidate, let them know you appreciate them coming in, etc. You're not saying yes or no now. Let them know what the next steps are and when you're going to advise them. So what any time frame you've got, look, we'll contact you at this stage, we're still interviewing, whatever it happens to be. Make sure they know what to expect from you and when they're going to expect to get some sort of answer or guideline. Okay, don't leave people hanging. Worst thing you can do, give them some time frames and next steps. If you do that, it's a pretty cool execution, pretty good interview process. Awesome.